How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Wolf, and today I'm going to be tackling a topic that I've been getting asked quite a bit in my live streams, which is that when you go to play a build or make a build, you don't understand the synergies that people have created, or some of the even skill gem setups. So we're going to break things down extremely simply, and help you to understand why when you copy someone else's build off of like online or video or that sort of thing, why what you end up creating isn't what you're looking at. It's generally because either you've made a mistake in skill gems somewhere, or because there are very specific synergies that the build has going on for it. I'm going to teach you how to create synergies yourself to start making your own builds and experimenting, as well as explaining how support gems and which support gems to choose all end up working together. This video is going to be a tie-in to yesterday's video where I cover the air quotes best class, which I always say is Marauder, which is the most versatile class. Considering I made up a bread and butter skill tree, you can transition into pretty much any skill for the Marauder. Now, with my synergy section, I'm going to be showing you how to take that type of build and start creating ideas and working through adapting that to something even better and even more powerful to create something able to do things like this, like I am playing right now. Now, I'm going to be putting out a video on this exact build coming pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. But let's just pop into skill gem explanation first. So when you get access to items and doing up your gems and that sort of thing, you'll realize that you have, of course, gem sockets. Now, there is a varying number of gem sockets depending on which item you're using. Your chest piece and two-handed weapons, respectively, can have 6 sockets, as you can see right here. They can have 6 sockets and 6 links. A 6-link item is very valuable. The reason you want to have a 5 or 6-link item is to put in support gems. Ruthless support, melee fizz support, that sort of thing. And the reason for that is to amplify whatever your base skill is as much as humanly possible to increase its damage. My ground slam, just by itself, is extremely average at best, and as a result you'll be able to not really kill anything if you don't link it up to supports and that sort of thing. Now, I will also be covering how to make a pseudo 7-link item, which has to do with the item itself and synergies and that sort of thing, but that'll be a little bit later. So, covering support gems to start us off, there is a trap with support gems. I will make sure I tell you that right off the bat. The reason I'm using melee phase damage support here is it has a very integral word in it. Supported skills deal 46% more melee fizz damage. This is the most notable thing that you want to be looking out for, because more is 500 times insignificantly better than increased or added or that sort of thing. For the reason being is that more is multiplicative. So if you stack a more increase and a more increase, they'll multiply with each other, as opposed to just adding on top of each other. If you go for increased, then if you have 2 increased, they'll just add the 25%, as opposed to timesing 46% with 25%, and you get a massive number instead, as opposed to the small number that you would get with just adding on that sorts of things, or adding on bad supports. So you want to opt for as many support gems that you can get that have more of whatever you're going for. More melee phase in my case. So we're trying to augment our ground slam, of course, right? So we want to go for more melee phase right here, melee physical damage. Coming down, we want to get ruthless, which is more melee damage, right? This is on the 3rd hit. We get a massive hit dealing 109% more melee phase. This times is with melee physical damage, right? Equaling a ton of damage. Then we have brutality here for 55% more, right? You can start seeing some of the craziness that starts adding up. Now, you can start mixing and matching things depending on the color that you have and what sort of thing you want to go for, depending on the type of skill and type of build you're going for. For me, I'm going for a berserker, so I want to be extremely fast, able to kill stuff quickly, and keep my berserker and my rampage stacks up so that I can just keep exponentially scaling my damage. Now, what I can do with this is I can put in onslaught support, which makes it so that whenever I kill something, I have a 32% chance to gain onslaught. Onslaught gives me a movement speed buff, an attack speed buff, and an attack damage buff. This is on a killing blow. This is, of course, my main skill that I use pretty much all the time, right? And so as a result, we're pretty much keeping Onslaught up permanently, which is all around just exceptional, because this means I just have bonus attack speed on top of pretty much everything else. Here you could put faster attacks if you wanted to, which also gives you attack speed or that sort of thing. Or what you could do is you could put an area of effect, because notice I'm using ground slam, right? So I'm able to increase my area of effect so I can cover an even larger radius. Now we're going to start talking about a little bit of synergy and diving into that sort of pool of area. If we look at my exact weapon that I'm using a Maroki, or I'm not going to be able to say that right, a Kyrie Maul, let's just say it like that. And the reason I'm opting for this is, first of all, because I got it at 5 link and it came with 250% fizz damage. Very, very good deal in my department. But socketed gems are supported by level 15 increased area of effect. This is how you create a pseudo 7 link, right? Now you'll notice that my other socket here isn't linked. That's fine. You won't be able to get 6 links unless you're very, very rich or very, very lucky. But what I am able to do here is, because socketed gems are supported by level 15 increased area of effect, that means that my ground slam already has area of effect in it just by being put into this weapon somewhere. So this 5 link that I have here is actually a 6 link, because there's a hidden increased area of effect gem that is applied to my ground slam just because of the weapon, right? If I were to take this out and put it, say, in my chest piece, I wouldn't get that area of effect. It needs to be socketed into that item to allow you to get that bonus. That's where you can start messing up some synergy if you look at a build and you socket something in the wrong spot. Say you put something in your chest piece that, like your, I don't know, a main summoning spell, but your weapon has +2 to summoned minions. Like, you're missing out on a ton of damage there, and you're just messing up a little bit, right? You're messing up the synergy and the plan a little bit. So making sure you check over what items you have, and if they have the ability to create like a pseudo 7 link or a pseudo 6 link or that sort of thing. Make sure you double check everything and you're not missing out on anything like that. In my Flame Totem Chieftain build, I was actually able to create a pseudo 6 link pair of gloves from one of the shaper affixes on my gloves. So I didn't have to use a chest piece with sockets, and I didn't have to use a wand, or I didn't have to use a two-hander. I could get away with using a wand. So you can create some pretty crazy stuff that is actually really, really viable by creating pseudo 6 links, depending on which sort of build you're going for. Now, that's kind of the basic explanation of skill gems, which is opt for as much more of whatever you're looking for as you can get, as opposed to going for increased, and then trying to get as many sockets as you possibly can. I don't think there's really anything else to cover in that department, so what I can start covering is what you can do with some of the extra slots you have access to, right? So that's just covering the main weapon and the chest piece. But what we can start covering now is what you can start putting in your off slots. You want to put your main damaging abilities in your 5 or 6 link setups, because you can get the most out of those abilities, right? You can add in 5 extra supports to your main damaging skill, so you want to put it in your biggest set of links. But what do you put in the other stuff? For the longest time I had a lot of this empty because I didn't know either. But after a little bit of help from some luxurious people in my live stream, I was able to, expand my knowledge and that sort of thing, and now we're here bringing that knowledge to you. So what that is going to be, for the most part, is cast while damage taken. This allows you to do some pretty shenanigansy stuff and just have things proc while still playing the exact same build you were doing beforehand, and start giving yourself something I like to call defensive layers. Layering defenses on top of each other will make it a lot harder for you to die in PoE and meet with that patented "what the fuck, I'm dead" one-shot mentality PoE likes to have. So the simplest one that I have to explain for you is a cast when damage taken enfeeble setup. So you need a red gem and you need a blue gem, and you have a cast when damage taken and an enfeeble. And what ends up happening here is when you get whacked and you take enough damage to trigger your cast when damage taken, you'll be able to curse everything around you to do reduced damage to you. So this ends up giving you a nice defensive layer. And you can actually switch this around to any curse you'd like to. If you have one that you want to opt for that you think would be better for your build, you can go for an offensive layer here. You can add invulnerability instead, that sort of thing here. Now, one thing to know about castle damage taken is that the lower level it is, the more often it'll proc. But you need to make sure that it's at the right level, that it will still proc the ability it's linked to. I know, it's a bit confusing, but bear with me. If we read castle damage taken, you'll see that this gem can only support skill gems requiring level 62 or lower. This castle damage taken is level 62. Our enfeeble here is level 30, so we're able to, of course, support that. Were this, like, say, level 64, it wouldn't work, right? So check the level of your gems, check the level of your castle damage taken, and that sort of thing. Now, I could probably down level this quite a bit and just go for like a level 1. I thought this was a level 1. I think I over leveled it. But, oh well, things happen. I'll just grab another level 1 and be good to go. That means you get more procs of enfeeble and that sort of thing as you get going. So the other thing about this is it doesn't just have to be a one-link setup. You can have a single castle damage taken linked to your entire setup, like I've got here. So this here, level 16 castle damage taken setup, will link up to everything that I have here because they're all linkable skills. If we mouse over what they are, I have Molten Shell, which is an exceptional bit of extra damage and a little bit of shield. Nothing spectacular, but it's something, right? We have Stone Golem, which is just extra life regeneration. I'm playing Berserker, so I need as much life regen as possible, and having to recast this bastard who dies a lot gets to be a pain in the ass. So just being able to have him be resummoned by casting damage taken is all around exceptional, and just makes my life a whole lot easier. Of course, make sure to keep an eye on the level, because you might have to down level your Golem or level up your casting damage taken and keep your Golem where it is to make sure that things even out. I also have it linked up to Immortal Call because this gives you physical invulnerability for a certain amount of time depending on endurance charges consumed. Now this is more build based because I'm able to get endurance charges. If you aren't, you can still use Immortal Call to prevent like mass damage spikes, but don't expect it to last very long. Now you can actually do things a little bit differently in here as well. If you don't want to have this linked up to all of this, you can instead put in an increased duration support, which I have down here on my Warcry. You could put this in here as well if you don't want to use one of these. So you don't want to use Immortal Call, you can take this out because you want to keep your endurance charges, so you're playing Juggernaut. Then you can just put in an increased duration support, and whatever else you have linked up will end up lasting longer for you. You want to make use of all your gem slots right there. Of course, I covered increased duration support. I have that linked up to Enduring Cry and that sort of thing. And my chess piece is just my War Chief setup that ends up working out quite well for me. One other setup that you can probably potentially use, I heard about this literally today, which is kind of brilliant, which is Cast on Death Portal, which makes it so if you die, it'll drop a portal for you. You can go back through the portal and end up right where you were. It's the most 400 IQ thing I've heard in a long, long time, and I wasn't the one who came up with it. I was pretty damn amazed. But that being said, that's just covering the types of things you can do with casting damage taken. Whatever build you're playing might have some synergy with certain skill gems, depending on what the build is, depending on what you're doing with uniques, that sort of thing. You might want to socket certain things in certain places to get, say, pseudo 7 links or bonuses like that. You might want a like summon skill in your chess piece because you're using a Vis Mortiz that gives you bonus to minion gem level for having it put in there. So with that sort of thing, that's what you have to look out for when you're following a build. But that is going to be all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. You can create some pretty damn wacky skill gem setups and start doing some pretty interesting stuff with that all around. Now I'm going to be covering synergies tomorrow because this video is already in the 14 to 15 minute range. So stay tuned for that coming up pretty much after today. If you're watching in the future, you can probably find it in the sidebar or probably in the description. It's going to be all from me, and as always, take care, lads. So have it if you sent us